We knew them as immortal icons, the heroic faces that defined our youth. But what really happened when the Hollywood spotlight faded behind the silver screen lies a quiet truth. Many of cinema's greatest legends spent their final years in quiet care homes. Today, we reveal 14 classic stars who faced their twilight years with grace, including one beloved icon whose final chapter will truly touch your heart. Long before she became one of the most unforgettable villains in American film history, Margaret Hamilton lived a very different life. Trained as a kindergarten teacher, she devoted herself to working with young children, a background that made her later screen persona all the more remarkable. The woman who terrified audiences as the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz was, by all accounts, warm-hearted, patient, and genuinely devoted to helping others. When The Wizard of Oz became a beloved television tradition through its annual broadcasts beginning in the 1950s, Hamilton's image became permanently woven into American culture. For millions of children and families gathering around the television to watch Dorothy's journey and hear the witch's famous cackle became a cherished yearly ritual. Yet away from the camera, Hamilton was nothing like the character that made her famous. Rather than pursuing the glamorous Hollywood lifestyle, she built a long and respectable career as a dependable character actress, appearing in numerous television programs, films, commercials, and stage productions. As she grew older, Hamilton approached aging with the same humility that had defined her life. She never sought luxury or celebrity status. Instead, she spent her later years quietly in Connecticut, where she received care while remaining close to the simple routines she valued. Her life offered a striking contrast between fantasy and reality. On screen, she ruled a dark kingdom and commanded flying monkeys. Off-screen, she was known as a friendly, down-to-earth woman who enjoyed ordinary pleasures and meaningful human connections. When Margaret Hamilton passed away in 1985 at the age of 82, America lost a beloved character actress. Yet her legacy endures. The Wicked Witch remains immortal on screen, while the kind and dedicated woman behind the green makeup continues to be remembered with affection by generations of admirers. For generations of Americans, Ray Bolger will always be remembered as the lovable scarecrow whose joyful spirit lit up the Wizard of Oz. Watching him stumble, leap, and glide down the yellow brick road, it seemed as though gravity simply didn't apply to him. His extraordinary athleticism and graceful movement made the Scarecrow one of the film's most unforgettable characters. During the movie's beloved annual television broadcasts, Bolger became a familiar face in millions of homes, reminding audiences that optimism and friendship could overcome even the greatest obstacles. Long before and after Oz, Bolger built an impressive career that stretched across vaudeville, Broadway, film, television, and live theater. His remarkable dancing style, marked by rubber-like flexibility and effortless precision, earned him a reputation as one of America's finest entertainers. He later starred in The Ray Bolger Show and continued performing well into his later years, admired for the boundless energy that seemed to define him. But time eventually catches even the most gifted performers. In his 80s, after being diagnosed with bladder cancer, Bolger's health steadily declined. The dancer, whose career had depended on constant motion, gradually lost the mobility that had once amazed audiences around the world. Eventually, he required full-time nursing care and spent his final months in a Los Angeles nursing home. The contrast was deeply moving. The man who once danced with unmatched freedom now relied on the compassionate care of others. Ray Bolger passed away in 1987 at the age of 83. Although the spotlight eventually faded, his cheerful scarecrow continues to dance across television screens, preserving forever the warmth, humor, and remarkable talent that made him an enduring part of America's cultural memory. For millions of Americans who gathered around the television on Thursday nights during the 1970s, Ellen Corby became the warm, reassuring heart of the Waltons. As the wise and loving Grandma Walton, she represented the strength of family traditions, offering comfort, guidance, and quiet wisdom from the front porch of a Virginia farmhouse. The series celebrated the values of togetherness, reminding viewers that home was a place where every generation belonged and no one faced life's challenges alone. Behind the scenes, however, Corby's own journey took a far different path. In 1976, while the series was still at the height of its popularity, she suffered a devastating stroke that severely affected her speech and mobility. Through months of determination and rehabilitation, she recovered enough to return for several memorable appearances as Grandma Walton, a testament to both her resilience and her dedication to the role audiences loved. Even so, her health never fully recovered, and the lasting effects of the stroke gradually made everyday life more difficult. As the years passed, Corby eventually moved to the motion picture and television country house and hospital in Woodland Hills, California, where she received the professional care she needed. It was a touching contrast to the world that made her famous. On television, Grandma Walton was always surrounded by children, grandchildren, and lively family dinners. In reality, Corby spent her later years in the quiet routine of a care community supported by devoted nurses and caregivers. When Ellen Corby passed away in 1999 at the age of 87, she left behind far more than a memorable television character. She left generations of viewers with a lasting image of kindness, resilience, and the enduring importance of family, even as life often unfolds differently than the stories we see on screen. For countless Americans who grew up watching Little House on the Prairie, Olsen's Mercantile was far more than a general store. It was the heart of Walnut Grove. Standing behind the counter was Richard Bull as the kind and dependable Nels Olsen. Calm, fair-minded, and endlessly patient, Nels balanced his wife's sharp personality while treating his neighbors with compassion and respect. Whether extending credit to struggling families or offering a listening ear, he became a symbol of decency and quiet strength in one of television's most beloved communities. Over 9 memorable seasons, Bull brought the values of honesty, generosity, and neighborly kindness into millions of American homes. His understated performance made Nels one of the series' most relatable characters, reminding viewers that true leadership often comes through humility rather than loud words or grand gestures. As the years passed, life became more challenging. Richard Bull and his wife of more than 6 decades, Barbara Collentine, eventually left their home and moved to the Motion Picture and Television Fund retirement community in Woodland Hills, California. There, they received the support and medical care that growing older sometimes requires. The contrast was deeply touching. On television, Nels Olsen was the dependable shopkeeper who provided for an entire town. In real life, Bull spent his later years relying on skilled caregivers and nurses who ensured his comfort and well-being. Richard Bull passed away in 2014 at the age of 89, leaving behind a legacy of warmth, humility, and quiet professionalism. Though the man himself is gone, Nels Olsen continues to welcome visitors into Olsen's Mercantile through reruns of Little House on the Prairie, preserving the kindness and gentle spirit that made Richard Bull such a treasured part of American television history. For generations of viewers who cherished Little House on the Prairie, Harriet Olsen was impossible to ignore. Brought to life with unforgettable flair by Katherine McGregor, Harriet was outspoken, opinionated, and forever determined to be at the center of every conversation. As the outspoken owner of Olsen's Mercantile alongside her husband Nels, she often stirred up trouble, but her sharp wit and larger-than-life personality also made her one of the series' most memorable and entertaining characters. Audiences loved to dislike Harriet, and that was a tribute to McGregor's remarkable talent. Away from the cameras, however, Katherine McGregor was strikingly different from the woman she portrayed. After Little House on the Prairie ended in 1983, she gradually stepped away from Hollywood, choosing a quieter, more spiritual life. A devoted practitioner of Hinduism, she dedicated much of her time to meditation, personal growth, and teaching acting, preferring inner fulfillment over celebrity. As she entered her 90s, the vibrant energy that had once defined Harriet Olsen naturally gave way to the realities of old age. In her later years, McGregor lived at the Motion Picture and Television Fund community in Woodland Hills, California, where she received the care and support she needed. It was a touching contrast to the commanding character millions remembered. The woman who had played television's loudest social climber spent her final years in peace, surrounded by compassionate caregivers rather than the bustle of Walnut Grove. Katherine McGregor passed away in 2018 at the age of 93, leaving behind one of television's most unforgettable performances. Through endless reruns of Little House on the Prairie, Harriet Olsen continues to make audiences laugh, groan, and smile, while the gracious actress behind the role is remembered for the humility, kindness, and quiet wisdom that shaped her life beyond the screen. Long before television sitcoms became a staple of American entertainment, The Honeymooners set the standard. Premiering in 1955, the series transformed the sitcom genre with its unforgettable characters and relatable stories of working-class life in Brooklyn. Although only 39 original episodes were produced, the show's influence has endured for generations. At the center of that beloved cast was Joyce Randolph as the warm, practical, and level-headed Trixie Norton, whose quiet humor perfectly balanced the larger-than-life personalities around her. Thanks to decades of television syndication, Randolph remained a familiar face in American homes long after the cameras stopped rolling. To millions of viewers, Trixie never seemed to age. She was forever the cheerful neighbor living just upstairs, sharing laughs, offering common sense, and helping make one of television's greatest comedy ensembles feel like family. Life, however, followed a different script. Joyce Randolph enjoyed an extraordinary life that stretched nearly a century, outliving her fellow stars Jackie Gleason, Art Carney, Audrey Meadows, and even many of the viewers who first watched the show in the 1950s. As she approached her late 90s, age gradually made independent living more difficult, and she moved to an assisted living community in New York City where she received the daily support and care she needed. When Joyce Randolph passed away in January 2024 at the age of 99, she was the last surviving member of The Honeymooners' original principal cast, yet her legacy remains timeless. Every time the series returns to television, Trixie Norton is still there smiling, quick-witted, and forever young, while the remarkable actress behind the role is remembered for a life marked by grace, longevity, and an enduring place in the history of American television. Long before audiences heard her signature greeting, "Howdy," they recognized the little straw hat with its famous $1.98 price tag. For more than half a century, Sarah Ophelia Colley Cannon delighted America as Minnie Pearl, one of country music's most beloved entertainers. Through countless performances at the Grand Ole Opry and years on Hee Haw, she created a character whose warmth, humor, and down-home charm made millions of viewers feel as though they were visiting an old friend from the South. Minnie Pearl was forever cheerful, quick with a joke, and eager to share the latest small-town gossip from the fictional community of Grinders Switch. Her infectious laugh and unmistakable personality became lasting symbols of Southern hospitality, bringing comfort and laughter to generations of families. Behind the costume, however, Sarah Cannon was also a respected businesswoman, philanthropist, and tireless ambassador for country music. As the years passed, age and illness gradually changed the rhythm of her life. In 1991, Cannon suffered a serious stroke that permanently affected her mobility and brought her remarkable performing career to an end. Eventually, she moved to a nursing care facility in Nashville, Tennessee, where she received the full-time medical support she needed during her final years. The contrast was both gentle and moving. On stage, Minnie Pearl always seemed full of boundless energy, standing before cheering crowds with a smile that never faded. Off-stage, Sarah Cannon spent her remaining years in the quiet comfort of professional care, surrounded by compassionate nurses, family, and close friends. Towering at 6'4" with a commanding presence, George Kennedy became one of Hollywood's most recognizable character actors. Whether portraying the unforgettable dragline in Cool Hand Luke or the dependable Joe Petroni in the airport films, he projected quiet confidence, resilience, and unwavering strength. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, audiences came to trust Kennedy's characters. He was the man who remained calm under pressure, solved impossible problems, and inspired confidence when everything seemed to be falling apart. Behind that larger-than-life screen image was a dedicated professional whose career spanned more than 5 decades. A former U.S. Army serviceman, Kennedy appeared in over 200 films and television productions, earning an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for Cool Hand Luke in 1968. His natural authority and steady presence made him one of Hollywood's most dependable performers, admired by colleagues and audiences alike. As the years passed, however, age brought challenges that no actor could escape. After the death of his beloved wife, Joan Kennedy's health gradually declined, particularly as he struggled with heart disease. Eventually, he moved to an assisted living community in Middleton, Idaho, where he received the daily support and medical care he needed. It was a quiet contrast to the fearless heroes he had portrayed for so many years. The man who once rescued passengers on screen and stood fearlessly in the face of danger now relied on the kindness and professionalism of caregivers during his final chapter. George Kennedy passed away in 2016 at the age of 91, leaving behind one of the most enduring careers in American film. Though time eventually slowed the man, his performances continue to remind audiences of an era when courage, integrity, and quiet determination defined Hollywood's greatest heroes. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. See you in the next one.